Hello, Jamie from Inky&Scrappy, back with a Dumpster Fire of Hope interactive dumpster card with Bookmark. So you should be able to do this one with just some cardstock, and you don't need to have all the stamps. If you just want to make a dumpster fire, you can just make a dumpster fire. So I started with a piece of cardstock cut down to 2¼ inches, and then I scored it at every 1/4 inch, and then I'm gonna turn it the long way and just score down. So it's like a 2-inch flap. So it has like a 1/4 inch overhang to kind of tuck behind so my lid will open and close. And then of course I did my pieces for my dumpster building as well. So I did it at 5½ by 4¼ for my big green piece. And then I'm just taking the lid here and kind of folding it along the fold. I'm going to fold it both ways just so it has a nice crease on it, and then decide which side I wanted it. But I cut this one down to 5½. And then I will bring in that bigger piece of green. Now I'm going to make a pocket with this in the end here. So, just bear in mind here, I kind of decided to figure out where I'm placing my pocket first, kind of using that second piece of green there. I wanted to build up some layers, kind of give it that look of a dumpster. So I'm going to bring in my foam adhesive here. So this is just some super thick foam adhesive from Amazon. I can list it and link it below if you are interested. It's stupid sticky. Can I say stupid sticky? I don't know. It's different. I like the black part of it, and I like that it's 3 millimeters thick, and so it just isn't the easiest to work with. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm bringing in the Dumpster Fire Redo stamp set for some sentiments, and of course the Phoenix set from Inkroad Stamps to do this one. So currently Inkroad Stamps is on hiatus, so you can't get these sets, but you can definitely do this card without those stamp sets. Just, find some sentiments that would work with it. I'm sure there's some other ones out there. So I'm going to cut down my little strip here. I just want a little piece on the bottom to kind of look like, I don't know, to look like a dumpster. So I'm going to add some score style tape to the top flap here on my dumpster lid. Make sure that it's going to cover up my bottom piece. So I didn't cut, I think I ended up not cutting my one piece long enough, so I maybe would have made that a little bit longer the next time around that I do it. I did bring in some black soot distress oxide ink to kind of, I don't know, dingy up my dumpster. I didn't want it to look all nice and clean and clear. And then before I do too much here, I'm going to bring in a sentiment and add a sentiment to the bottom part of my dumpster here, just to kind of make it, I don't know, have that sentiment on there before I pop it all up, because it's not going to work very well to do to do a sentiment in general on a popped up pocket style card. So I did treat that with some anti-static powder tool from from Tailored Expressions. Stamped it with some Versamark ink, and then I'm bringing in, I think this one is called Tree Branch, maybe, possibly, from Ranger, and just kind of trying to not make a mess. I'm sure I ended up making a mess on my desk at some point in time. I did this one back in September. Yeah, I'm just getting around to doing voiceovers on it, so you'll have to excuse me as I watch with you and relearn how I did this card. Yeah. So once I had that one set, I brought in, it's called Tapestry or Tapestry. I think it's Tapestry, right? So this is an old one that I picked up from my nanny's stash when she was getting rid of a bunch of stuff. It just kind of looked fun. But really, you could make this one with like whatever you have for embossing powders. It's just kind of like it looks really like a throw together of just a whole bunch of embossing powder colors. So this one has some pinks and some greens and some, just like what you would think to find in a tapestry piece. I guess. But it just had a bunch of different colors in it, and I thought it would kind of look like dirty, just kind of add some, I don't know, some dirtiness to it, or some, I don't know, some fun textures, some fun colors to it. Just kind of adds a little bit of that dingy to that dumpster. I don't want my dumpster to look brand new. It's a dumpster fire. It's supposed to look like, a hot mess. So that was kind of what I did. Just kind of brought in my Versamark ink pad. You'll see that one is dirty. I have one that's dirty and one that's clean. So for things like this, I just bring in that dirty one because, yeah, I may have ruined it a while back. And so I bought myself a clean one. And I use that dirty one for things that don't really matter a whole lot. Like I don't need it to be clear. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I don't always remember to grab that one, but anyways, so I did my front panel piece there. Now I'm going to build that pocket piece up. So I'm just gonna, bring this in. I like to add a piece of it. I don't know. I don't want to say adhesive. It's the protective layer for like score style tape or anything that, is like a release paper. So I kind of add that to the back of my foam, especially when I'm cutting it from a bigger piece. It helps save on the sticky for the scissors, and for this black stuff that is kind of a hot mess anyways, it definitely makes it cuttable. It like would stick to my scissors and it'll rip the adhesive off otherwise. I'm telling you, it's some uberly sticky stuff. Yeah. So I'm adding in that bottom piece there and just kind of marking where I'm going to move it, shift it down just a tiny bit, and then mark where the top line is going to be, just because I want to make sure that it's not going to hang out from the top of the inside of my dumpster. I hope that makes sense, from my pocket. So I will add in a kind of a piece towards the top so it doesn't fold in at all. I just want to make sure that it's not going to bow down. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to add in my dumpster lid here. Now I had gone with some spray stains or some mica spray stains on a piece of just tissue paper. So it's one that I did in my Let's Start Stamping series a while back with the otters, and I made like waves or water with tissue paper and just kind of added some ink to it and let it dry. So it was about the same time that I did my flames. I was like, oh, this would be awesome for some flames. So that's kind of what I did for this one. I just kind of added some reds, some yellows, and some oranges, and then I just kind of cut out flames from them. I wasn't too particular or too worried about it. I just kind of, cut flame style shapes and went from there. So at this point, to get it to stick, and I wanted it to stay inside the dumpster, but I wanted it to be like the flames popping out. So I just added that little bit of glue onto the bottom part there, and then of course I also added a dot of glue on to the top. I kept the glue fairly minimal because obviously you're going to see it through on, your other, I don't know, through the tissue paper, right? Because it's kind of like vellum, you're going to see glue through, so tissue paper is the same. I just kept building up my layers, so I don't think I did, so the back ones I kind of kept, definitely glued them, but the front ones I didn't. I just let them free flow. I figured they'd be okay. And then I'm going to add in my base there, and then when I fold it under, it just kind of all is contained in the dumpster, and then when you open that lid, pops open, you see the fire that's inside. I thought it was fun. It was, definitely, it's a definitely doable card for anyone that has paper, right? And so I decided my dumpster needed some more bling to it, so I brought in some, I think these are just like found elements from Tim Holtz stash. I don't remember. They're like the labels and stuff. So I just kind of picked ones that kind of went with that whole, what you would find on a dumpster sticker wise, probably a number, those types of things. Now I wanted to do a pull out, Phoenix in this one. So I was making this one specifically for someone. So a lot of times, that's where I kind of go with my ideas. But I wanted it to have a pull-out bookmark so that way they can use the bookmark whenever they want. And, you know, it can kind of go with them or, you know, that type of thing. So I just wanted the bird on this one. So I'm just going to kind of use my tag here and kind of place that over where I wanted it. I didn't ink the whole stamp. I only needed that little part there. And then for my coloring on this one, I'm bringing in my Ohuhus. If you watch my channel frequently, I do have an Ohuhu color blending chart over on my Inky&Scrappy websites at InkyandScrappy.com, all spelled out. And so all of those cards will be on there, but I ended up using that flame one from the card that I did this summer that was with the Jaime inked girl for the flame, and then I brought in a darker green for the dumpster. So I kept the colors pretty much just one color on each color, and then I just kind of blended them as I went. I did actually do a second Phoenix, and it was kind of like my first one that I did, and then I switched up what I wanted to do, and so this was my second go at it. So it went a lot smoother than my first go at it, just saying. So I brought in the red, kind of did my red tips first, kind of bringing that in. I wasn't too, you know, because I can always, I'm going to come back if I need to blend them a little bit better. Then I'm going to come in with my second layer, which is orange. And so when you're switching colors like this, you want to go over that first, you know, you want to kind of go over part of that first color. You don't want to go over the whole color, but you want to go over part of it, so then the orange and the red will kind of blend together. And then you're going to come in with your yellow layer here, and you're going to kind of do that same thing. And so I just kind of kept working it, kind of trying to make it so it looks like the flames are dancing or coming out. And then continuing on with this one, I did end up coming in with a little bit more orange. I just didn't feel that I had enough in certain spots, so just coming back in and going over it again. And then, of course, coming in with that yellow and bringing it up a little bit more. And then to finish this one off, I kind of wanted to bring in that bluish color on the Phoenix, so it's kind of cooling off, or that fire is cooling off, and so you kind of see the color of the blue there, so it kind of gets a blue-green in between where the yellow and the blue meet. I hope that makes sense. You know, it's all good fun. And then, of course, I wanted to add the sentiment on this one. I adore this sentiment from the stamp set Dumpster Fire Redo. So it's probably one of my favorite sentiments. And then I will stamp that one on the tag here. So the strongest are forged in the fire of a dumpster, or something like that. I can't remember it off the top of my head. And it's not sitting in front of me right now, so I can't read it for you. Yeah, I know. It is what it is. And then I'm going to bring in some, I picked some black hemp twine. It's a little bit thicker. It doesn't have my wax coating that I usually prefer to do for beading. So I just, you know, heated up the candle wax a little bit, kind of dipped my ends here. I just want them to stick together so I can maybe add some beads to it. I will say this, I ended up cutting out a lot here. It did not go very well. My thread was just too thick. If I'd have gone with a pre-waxed flaxy, I think it's called waxy flax, or that style, I just didn't have the color in waxy flax that I wanted for this, and so I went with the black one. And so I ended up pulling in some darker, some different color beads. I wanted to do mostly like oranges and reds, and so it just didn't work for me. Yeah, can you say I maybe kind of walked away from it for a little bit and then came back because it just wasn't going. So I ended up doing some orange, and I think they're like turquoise colored. They're a bigger seed bead. I just picked up, I don't know, I picked up a bunch of them on clearance at Hobby Lobby when I was there the one time. I was like, oh, well, they were like stupid cheap. So, of course, I needed more beading beads because, you know, I do jewelry so frequently. It's another hobby of mine. Don't ask. I have a lot of hobbies. I also picked up these cool Phoenix pendants from Amazon. I can link them below. I've looked forever for Phoenix ones, and these were the ones I ended up settling on. Price-wise, they were fairly reasonable, and I thought they would be fun to add to some bookmarks. So that was kind of where I went with them, or where I picked them up. So that was kind of, you know, have I done any more bookmarks with them? No, not yet. They're on my list. So that will tuck nicely into that little pocket we made in our dumpster, so then the Phoenix can fly out of the dumpster. And then I will add this onto a card base here. And before I get too far, I'm going to do the inside of my card. So I'm going to do the sentiment here first. And I end up removing the stamp, and I probably should have just used a different stamping tool, because I end up putting the stamp back on. You know, it's me. I just, sometimes it happens. So I did the "You are not a dumpster fire, you are a multi-dimensional dumpster Phoenix" for my inside sentiment, and then of course I'm going to stamp that dumpster Phoenix on to the inside here. I'm going to use some washi tape. This is some fairly not sticky washi tape. It works very well for this. So I'm just going to cover up my sentiment, and then this way I can stamp over the top of it and not worry about, you know, it covering that sentiment. So I brought in a light bluish color ink, and then I'm going to bring in a yellowish color ink for the bottom, and then I wiped it in between so that way I could go over the top, and this way you get the 3 color mixes, but you really only stamped with 2. It's probably one of my favorite things to do, is to get, you know, some of those multiple things. And then I just added some, you know, graffiti. That was where I was going with this. So I just brought in a white number 10 gel pen here, and, you know, just added some fun little, you know, love yourself, be the fire, and caca for that, you know, multi-dimensional Phoenix thing, rise above, all the things. So just a positive, encouraging card all around. And then of course I also had to stamp the strongest are forged in the fire of a dumpster onto the back, because, you know, it's my favorite sentiment. Anyways, I also did my inking on the back, so my custom made sentiment, or custom made back stamp I picked up from, or had made by, Magnuson Custom Stamps. So I didn't know they were so close to me, but they're literally like 20 minutes away. It's kind of awesome. Anyways, so that was done, and then I just cut off the part that was overhanging, because obviously I can't cut a piece of paper to 5.5 by 4.25 ever. It happens. And then there is my finished card. So that tag just kind of pops out. The fire just kind of flames, and I don't know. I love that the tissue paper looks like flame. And somebody sent me a dumpster fire. Is that not the coolest? I have no clue who did it. I kind of have some suspicions, but somebody sent me a random dumpster fire, and I put it together, and, you know, of course it went with my dumpster fire card. So there it is. Anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Keep getting inky. Bye.